So you can see we've just done key activities. The partner to that is our key resources. So they're really they're a pair. So when you're building out the things that you need to do to run the business, and you won't necessarily list all 10 of these things. Some of these are obvious, it's a given. You don't need to put it into your canvas. You just need somewhere in a detailed plan, an organizational chart that picks these things out. But there could be certain key activities that you simply have to do, otherwise the business model won't run. And in order to do that, there'll be resources that you're drawing on. So there's obviously a temptation. If this is anything, if this my office area is anything like your office, it could look something like this, where I've just got loads of gear everywhere, just tons of stuff. And even my filing system, I don't delete anything. So my folders are absolutely rammed with gigabytes and gigabytes of data and information and stuff like that. I'm going to challenge you all to just think about, do I really need all of this stuff? One of the lessons I learned quite quickly was years ago was I bought a paper shredder that I rarely used, because no sooner had I bought this Fandango paper shredder, because obviously I had GDPR purposes. Actually, GDPR didn't even exist when I'd bought the paper shredder, but just for the purposes of protecting the interests of people that I supported, because it was all analog, everything was written down. Maybe some of it was typed up, but more often than not, we were handwriting forms, getting signatures, processing grants, and all that kind of good stuff. And afterwards, all that had to be destroyed. So I bought a paper shredder. But of course, it hardly ever got used, because the majority of the paperwork had to be sent back to the organisation I contracted into. So there was next to nothing, and it was just a complete waste of my time. So when it comes to thinking not necessarily about the current business model that you have, but if I'm going to bring a new product to market, what am I going to need to do that? What changes would I need to make? And do I really need to buy that now? So things to make and do. So I've got to design, I've got to make it, I've got to sell it. So what new equipment do I need? Now, as you go through this list, there's a pound sign, cha-ching, cha-ching, ringing. So you're going to be thinking about, okay, well, that's 500 quid and that's 2,000 quid. So you've got equipment. It could be new space that you're going to need to operate in, whether or not it's just to hold the goods. And that could be a third-party fulfillment center or a distribution center. It could be a facility where you're making this stuff, or it could be just a location. So is that, do you own that outright? Is it shared space, co-working space? Will you need any physical space? Will you need any physical transport, or will you be relying on couriers for that? What kind of transport would you need if you needed it? Your digital assets. So I talked about one of the key activities is building a new brand if it's a new product. So what assets are you creating? What are these digital things then that effectively are part of your resource base to draw on? And do you manage them well, or are you forever like going looking around trying to find, oh, I did something a while ago, I don't know, I'm not sure where it is, I'll dig it out, and then you never are able to find it. So careful organization of your digital assets can save you an awful lot of time. It goes without saying that we all have technology, but will you need any new technology for this? Are you going to, for this new proposition, employ new people? Will they need new technology? So what will they need, and how much will that cost, and how will they use it? And is that the best interface tool for them to have? And will they be able to bring anything from their former life to the party to save you that? One of the hidden resources, although most evident for all of our businesses, people in it. A majority of them are doing the hidden activities, so the stuff that happens in the background, pretty much that list of key activities. So who's doing it? Who's in the team? The organizational chart, the responsibility matrix, the skills matrix. There are a whole load of tools that you can use to actually map who's in the team and who's doing what for you. Because cash flow is going to be king. We're going to talk about cash flow shortly, but you'll need that working capital to actually develop it. Do you have it? Is it sitting there? Is it ready to go? Because actually, once you've built this idea out, you'll have a pretty good idea about what the burn rate is for the business and at what point it actually will start to break even and make money if you've done your due diligence on all of this first. So might be generating IP with this. So will it generate IP? Are you intended to protect the IP? Do you have a budget to protect the IP? Do you have a strategy for selling the IP or licensing the IP? It's sitting there. Can I actually utilize it for another revenue stream? You'll have a load of software. Now, depending on what the opportunity is, you might have to develop this further. So James was talking about an integration of bringing another business in. That's all about choosing which packages, which apps, which platforms we're going to use, which ones are fit for purpose. Do we need to change anything right now? Have we identified that these aren't right and that we need to do something differently? And then finally, AI, and we'll come on to artificial intelligence shortly.